Chapter 8 Figgy. While Burdock slept, Figgy was thinking. Contrary to what Dewey had said, Figgy did have a noodle in her noggin. Her mind worked like a puzzle, fitting pieces into places until a whole picture emerged. After sniffling about in her trout for any last scraps of potato peels, bread crust, or tangy cheese rind, Figgy lay down, closed her eyes, and let out a sigh. The howl of the wind was louder now, and the rain hitting the barn was heavier. The deluge of water crashed into the building, and waves of fierce squalls drove the storm sideways. Figgy stretched herself out. Some of the best thinking came while laying down. She thought about what she knew. Number 1, Nanny can get out of her own pen. Number 2, Nanny can get us out of our pens. Number 3, the barn doors are locked. Number 4, the only one who can get outside is Burdock. And number 5, there's no way Burdock can open the barn doors. There were some good and some bad things here. The sticky points of any escape plan, it seemed, was getting out of the barn, or, in other words, finding a way to open the locked doors. Figgy's mind went back over exactly how Burdock had described the wooden bar. Clearly, Burdock wasn't big enough or strong enough to lift it and open the doors. But wait, what about Nanny? Could she push the bar up and open the doors? Despite her kind, motherly demeanor, Nanny was strong and clever. Hadn't she just jumped the fence and turned the block on Figgy's pen by butting it with her head? What if Figgy started to sit up? Rats! She remembered Nanny's locked in too. So here's the real question. How could Nanny get out of the barn and at least try to open the doors for the rest of them? She wasn't that big, really. Could she squeeze through anywhere? Was there any way? There was the door to the garage, but Dewey always kept that locked. The barn had a couple of decent-sized windows, but they were so high up in the walls, even Tug and Pull couldn't see out of them. And, well, that was it. Figgy tried to think if there were any gaps between or under or outside boards. She couldn't remember having seen any. Figgy opened her eyes and looked at her own outside barn wall. The Baxter Barn had been built over 100 years ago, in 1892. It was simply one big space with a half loft, intended as a hold-all for animals, equipment, and hay. There was no foundation or originality, simply a dirt floor. Sometimes in the early 1930s, a floor had been added to most of the barns, except the sheep, goats, and pig pens, which ran along the west side and remained in dirt. The barn was well built and had stayed in good shape, with only minor repairs now and then. 5 years ago, when an old maple tree fell in the barn and an expensive new roof was needed, Grady convinced Dewey that all they needed to do was take out some insurance on the structure. Dewey grumbled but finally agreed. They were already so deep in the hole. Really? So what the heck? Figgy looked at the small puddle of water sleeping under the wall. Suddenly, she was on her feet, pawing at the puddle. A little chunk of sandy mud came up. Quickly, she pawed with both front hoofs, scraping back in the water and dirt. The harder packed earth had been softened by some of the soaking rain. Figgy pushed her snout in and curved out a groove. She dug furiously with her hoofs, scraping back an inch of dirt, then an inch more. A jolt of energy surged through her. She clawed harder, deepening the howl at the base of the wall. She poked her nose in again and peered up, dug more, pulled back the dirt, and stopped. Wow, thought the pig, this might work. Nanny, whispered Figgy.